Welcome to First and 10 with Rams football coach Joe Prud'homme. I'm Jimmy the St. Christopher. Well, the Rams spit out the bad taste of the loss to Louisiana College with a 40-12 trampling of the Texas College Steers in Tyler this past weekend. Rams got off to a good start. The special teams whiz Jason Price did it again. Last time it was a big kickoff return, this time an 85-yard punt return. There was some good defense, and of course a couple TD runs by Ernest Caesar. Coach, at what point did you figure this is what I want to see this week?
Oh, probably third quarter. We were sloppy in the first half. We did not do well in the red zone. We were, I think, 5 for 9, and for us that's not acceptable. But offensively, we had some mistakes, had some penalties. Just some sloppy play on our behalf. But third quarter, we kind of took over in that first drive coming out, and I was real happy with that drive and went down, scored. Defense got a stop, and we started to really, start to play like us in the third quarter.
And you started running the ball.
Yes.
Caesar, as we said, Nick David West, 67 yards combined, 3 TDs. So that had to feel real good to see those two guys get back on track.
Oh, I was real happy with how they ran the ball, yeah. And the line blocked very well. I mean, they had some good creases in there, and they really hit it. Nick had been trying to bounce it out, a couple weeks ago. This last 2 weeks he's been much better. But boy, when he decides to really just drop his shoulders and run through, he's a load. He's about 205, but he runs really, really strong. Ernest was Ernest. He found some seams, some creases, took advantage of some blocks, set up some blocks, and he had a really solid game. Ernest was really, really good. So yeah, once we got on track to ran the ball, we were happy with how we ran the ball.
And you started Carson Rogers at QB. Yep. Now, is Dalton Dale healthy, or was that just a scratch?
No, it was kind of a scratch, but it was also, let him kind of heal up a little bit too. He's been banged up. His whole posterior chain, the back, hamstrings are kind of tight. But we're just going to wait and see how he is and give Carson a chance to develop and grow and see what he does. He had a little bit of a rough game, but also he was rusty. He never started a game, and he did some good things as well. So we're going to kind of kick the tires on him a little bit, see what he can do, and go from there.
Yeah, it was 10 out of 23, 94 yards with a couple of picks. What does he have to do to improve as he starts more?
He needs to calm down a little bit. He needs to just kind of settle into the game and not get in a rush. There were times he rushed a few things. He had a tip ball for an interception. That's hard to ever blame a quarterback for. He had one poor decision in the double coverage on another. And so he just has to hit the open receivers, trust it, hit them when they're open, not when they're wide open. I mean, when they got a couple steps, let them have it. Those guys are talented. They'll go do it. So it was that's the things he has to improve on. Just kind of get in the flow, get more game experience, and we'll just take it from there and see what happens.
On the other side of the ball, Vondres LaFrance had a good game in the secondary. Sir Hill, Darian Van Dyke, Hill and Van Dyke, 10 total tackles. Rams had 6 TFLs, which is commonplace, for the Rams to get a bunch of tackles for loss. 3 sacks, 2 picks by LaFrance. He also had a couple TFLs and 2 PBUs. How underrated is LaFrance?
LaFrance is good. He's crafty. That's the main thing about it. He's a very seasoned veteran. He's always around the ball. He'll bait some throws and put himself in a position to get some interceptions. So he does a really good job with that. And he's so experienced. He's been playing for 3 years now, and that experience is starting to really show up. And he studies film. He puts himself in a position, and he just seems like the tip balls go his way. And you can say, well, that's luck. And reality is, it's probably more about preparation and positioning than it is luck.
And Van Dyke, where did he come from?
He's been hurt all year. That was his second game back. The week before we didn't play him, he just wasn't quite right. He didn't tear, but he did a flipped meniscus this summer, which is strange. It just flipped, and he had it repaired. It was supposed to be a 6-week rehab process. It ended up being, I think, 12, which I don't know. He's in better physical condition than any of our guys as far as all the rehab he's done. But that was his first time in game action, and he did a pretty good job.
And Petway, of course, gets a lot of the defensive publicity, and Kobe Adams and Williams, and we can go on and on. But how about Sir Hill?
Yeah, Sir Hill's different. Sir Hill's different. He's long. He plays defensive end. You can drop him off in coverage. There was one play last week that they did a little jet sweep, and we thought the kid had us outflanked, and Sir Hill just, put his foot in the ground and ran one of their fastest guys to the sideline, and it was an impressive display of just athleticism, but also just pure, instincts and knowing what to do and playing great technique. And he's a different kind of ball player. He looks really thin, but he's so tall and long, and he's filling out, and he's really, really strong, but he's so coachable. Anything he's told to do, man, he applies it, does it. You don't have to ask him twice to do anything. He just has a real good football IQ and is not afraid to go get and make plays, and he's just a real talent.
And on offense, 9 games in, is there anybody that surprised you so far after 9 games?
Ernest has been spectacular. Ernest, in the camp and scrimmage, he was finding his way. It wasn't like it was anything negative. He just wasn't outstanding yet. And then he started bursting in practice the week leading up to the Global Classico, and then he really was spectacular there. And he just hadn't looked back. He's really surprised me as far as how well he's played. And the offensive line has been I figured they would be good, but they've been real good. Last week we had too many holding calls, but they were, but a lot of those normally won't get called like that. But we were a step behind, maybe a little lazy getting out of our frame, and so we committed them. It's just we have to sharpen up there, but they've been a real pleasant surprise. Cam Chapman's come a ways. Been really pleased with how he's playing. He early on he was struggling a little bit. He overcoming some nagging little injuries, but and not quite getting in where we wanted. But boy, this past week I thought he had a great game. He was very dominant, blocking, also getting out on some routes, and he just keeps steadily improving on offense. So those guys, and Jason Price has been a big surprise. We knew he'd be good. We knew he was twitchy, dynamic, but what he's done for the special teams is he's in the national leaders in returns right now, and but also what he's done on some of those catches, he's made some really clutch, difficult catches. So yeah, I'd say I named a lot, but those are the ones that have really come a ways and just surprised me.
Now, heading into those 2 final games, what area or areas would you like to see better at execution?
Just execution overall. I would like to see us less penalties. I'd like to see us cash in on the red zone when we get there. Our field goal operations were poor the other night. We had a couple of bad snaps. That's got to improve. Defensively, can't allow 4th down conversions. We allowed 1. Had a couple of blown coverages, not bad. No missed tackles, but really just kind of, when you have the opportunity in the red zone, take advantage of it. Go ahead and score, no matter what. You got to be. We want to be 90%. We were barely 50. We were over 50. We were about 60%. That's not good enough for that. I want to see the penalties decrease and just sharper execution and more of a killer instinct in the red zone on both sides of the ball.
And next up, the 2-6 North American University Stallions from Stafford, which is a Houston suburb. It's homecoming this weekend, 3 p.m. at Farrington. What do you know about them?
They're good. One stat that's pretty interesting about them is they're one of the few teams last year to beat LCU at home, Louisiana Christian. They went in there and beat them, 42-41.
Wow.
And last week Langston went into Louisiana College and got upset. Or I'm sorry, they didn't even go there. They hosted them and got beat. And it was a pretty dominant performance by Louisiana Christian. So I knew they were good. I thought they were really solid, but boy, they are playing at a high level. Their execution right now is really good. So for the team to come in last year and beat them, that's an eye opener for me. And not only that, they got a lot of those guys back. They've been playing some D2s, some D1s early in their schedule because they're trying to get into the get into the league. So they're playing the outlaw schedule, which means they're playing whoever they can play. And man, they've got some dudes. They got a big offensive line. Their quarterback is really good at operating. Defense, they're just real solid, good tacklers. They'll bring the heat. Their kicker and deep snapper are some of the best that we'll see this year. So it's going to be tough to get those block punts. It's going to be tough to, field position could come a little tougher this week. Last week we had great field position except for the exception of one drive because we had put ourselves in such good position. That's going to be a challenge this week. If we don't play well, we don't play sharp, we could be in for a real dogfight. And I expect a dogfight, but I mean, we have to play well in all three phases to be successful.
What kind of offense do they throw?
they're excuse me. they're basically the spread, air raid, that's pretty typical. They execute really well at it, real good.
They run a 3-4, 4-3 on D.
Primarily a four-man front for the most part, but they got some big guys that can run up front, so it's going to be tough.
So basically, they're in limbo as far as a conference goes,
Right.
I guess.
Right.
And where do you see them going maybe next year for a conference?
There's a real good chance you're going to join our conference. I mean, they petitioned for it. I believe this is like their probationary year. They're going to be in the rotation with a lot of the conference schools next year. And then I think the following year they'll be a full-fledged conference member.
Now, how did this come about, scheduling them a non-conference game this late in the season? Now, did you precipitate that? Did you start
Yes.
that going forward?
Kind of a little of both. Fran Johnson, our offense coordinator, knew one of their staff members, and they reached out and said, hey, we're looking for a game. And I said, well, so are we. Last year we played, UCA went up to Central Arkansas on this date. But, they had the opening. There was a real good chance they were going to be a conference member. Why not? And they were willing to come to us, and it worked out good to give us another home game, but also get a chance to play a team that's going to be a future conference member. And so, yeah, I knew about it, I precipitated it, and then I followed through with them, and they were agreeable to play. And so they were looking for games, and for them to play in the state, they really want to stay in state when they can.
I ask you this, I think, every year, but it's homecoming this week now. So
Yeah.
how much do you look forward to homecoming?
I like homecoming because you'll get to see a lot of people that you normally won't get a chance to see. I think that's really cool. I don't get involved in all the build-up of the week. To me, I have to stay focused on what I do. As soon as you take your hand off the wheel, it's just like driving, you put yourself in a bad spot. But it's important for the school, it's important for the student body, it's important for all the alumni. And so I do look forward to seeing everybody. I do look forward to visiting with them, prior to and after the game. And that's really important at the stage of the program that we're in. We're still young. I mean, we're only 6 years in, actually 5 years in. And so we got to continue to build those relationships and build that program in their eyes of the school, in the eyes of the alumni. So that's really important for us.
And the Rams now 7-2 overall. They're 6-2 in the SAC, and by golly, Rams on top of the SAC now. I mean, as we said, it's a logjam at the top because, as Coach mentioned, Langston got beat at home last week. Ottawa was off. ACU won. Suddenly they're hot again. They've won like 4 in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 teams that are behind the Rams, who are basically just percentage points ahead. Now, how hard is it going to be not to watch the scoreboard for the games that those 3 teams are playing in the next 2 weeks?
Right after our game, I'm going to watch. But it was funny because we played 7 o'clock last week, and so we knew Langston got beat, and it was funny because 2 or 3 of our staff members, they predicted that Louisiana College would beat them, and I didn't think that would happen. I just thought Langston at home is so tough, and Louisiana College had struggled on the road. I thought talent-wise they matched up, and I thought scheme-wise Louisiana Christian had a really good scheme for them, but I think Harrington is such a good quarterback for Langston. He can create, he can scramble, he can make plays out of nothing. I just figured he would make 2 or 3 magic plays, and that Langston's defense would rise up, and that's why I coach and don't predict stuff. I'm not very good at that, but we will scoreboard watch after our game. But during the game, we can't control any of it anyway. So just go and see what happens.
Yeah, and Ottawa hosts Wesleyan, and ACU has Langston at home. So that's going to be.
Is that this week?
The 5th, yep.
Okay. I thought for some reason SAGU was this week for Langston, and the next week was ACU, but you're probably right.
Yeah, on the 12th, Lion will play, obviously, Texas Wesleyan for the regular season finale. Then Ottawa goes to Panhandle. Langston plays SAGU on the 12th, and then ACU plays Wesleyan. So
you see, I can't even watch the scoreboard right. I can't even get the schedule right. I know who we're playing and who's left on their schedule, but I hadn't really paid attention to it. You know, we did that once and paid for it, so I'm not doing that again.
Is Louisiana College that hot now, or is Langston just that inconsistent? They go from 1 week to the next, and then Louisiana College knocks you guys off, and they beat Langston.
They're freaking good, man. What they do really well is they'll blitz the house, get you in man coverage, and dare you to beat them. And if your receivers struggle or your quarterback struggles, you're in trouble. They run their quarterback quite a bit in the game, so you may be used to getting 60 snaps, and then you play Louisiana Christian and they eat that clock. You may have 42 snaps. You better be real efficient in those 42 snaps, and they're really daring you to beat them on their defense. It's a real sound way. I mean, it's old school style football, but man, it's effective. It's really effective, and if you're not willing to play that way and your kids aren't focused on how to play like that, you can be in trouble in a hurry. Their special teams are very good, but they grind that clock, and when you got a running quarterback, a designed running quarterback, now your defense has to play 11 on 11, not 11 on 10 like a lot of people. So it's just completely different. And it matched up well with Langston, but if Langston been able to get a few of those balls off and the receivers were able to get free and all that, then they could have gone ahead. It could have really easily flipped the other way. But man, my hat's off to Coach Maddox. He's doing a great job, and he's got a great scheme going, and they're executing it. They fiercely believe in it, and man, they're peaking right now.
Right.
And when you play Langston at homecoming, man, it's like playing. You're walking in down 14-0, in my opinion. They are that good on homecoming. I mean, they play at such a high level on homecoming, and they hype up that week, and those kids are just lathered up and going. That's a really tough place on homecoming to play, and that's what Ottawa walked into.
Right.
But Langston, the way they did not give up in that game, I mean, Ottawa was getting ready to go in. They kick a field goal and win the game, but they're going in to score. Guy jumps over. They knock the ball loose and 90 the other way on a overtime walk-off. That's crazy. So they may have had such an emotional letdown from that game.
Right.
And Louisiana Christian could have had an emotional letdown after beating us, but they didn't. They just took it to another level. So, I mean, the conference is crazy. I mean, it's I hear the term chaos in the conference, and man, it is. You don't know who's going to beat who next week. So you've got to strap up, you got to be prepared, and you got to execute, or you're in trouble.
Now, was Louisiana College that good at the beginning of the season?
No, they struggled. They
just gelled.
Well, they lost to SAGU 27-zip, and some others beat them, and they just kind of struggled along. They were in games, they were close games, they were losing them, and I'm going to tell you what, they never quit, and they put together a great game against us, and it's just been a real stimulus for their team. It's been a catalyst, and my hat's off to them.
Well, business at hand for the Rams. Next up is one game at a time. That'll be Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff at Farrington Field. It's homecoming, with the homecoming festivities taking part. So, Coach, go get the North American University Stallions.
We got our hands full. We're going to have to play well. We have to play well.
Rams against the Stallions. Hopefully the Rams will come away with the victory. Till next week, for Coach Joe Prud'homme, Jimmy the St. Christopher saying so long. We'll see you next time on First and 10.